love LinkedIn. Awesome. Wow. Good morning, folks. Oh, God, I look good this morning, everybody. It's the shirt, if y'all notice. Gotta be. Hope y'all are doing good. As usual, let me know where you're at in the world. We already got a good crew in. Good singing, everybody. And Josh from Move. Everybody, when you get done with this, go look at Move, moov.io. The work that Wade Arnold, Josh, and everyone else is doing over there. Move, God, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, every single one of you know who I'm talking about, are going to explode. Sitter Hard, good to see you. Everyone else, thanks for being here. Make sure you smash that share button, emojis, let your friends know that you're here. As a matter of fact, I'll do that right now. Here we go. Typing. It's exciting. Boom. All right. So I've let everyone know. With that, let's jump in and let's get started. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sam Maule. Welcome to episode 101 of the 11th Best FinTech Insider Breakfast Show. As you know, the show, we bring you the best and brightest from around the FinTech and banking landscape every single weekday straight into your home at 8:30 British Standard Time, apart from Mondays and Wednesdays when it's me, at 10:30 Eastern Time for our U.S. friends. Both shows go live here on LinkedIn. Also, every morning at 8:30 a.m., I post a quick video here on the 11th channel. We call it the Breakfast Brief, where I do 3 stories in about 4 minutes. I also throw out a tip for you, too. So today's stories, we talked about the IPOs for Stripe and Airbnb, possible IPO for Stripe. It's going to happen, people. Blockbuster, still around, everybody. Blockbuster, actually, the only one that's left, you can actually rent an Airbnb. It's the coolest store in the world, buddy. And SlideShare got bought. Thank God, because you know how much I love LinkedIn. LinkedIn did a great job ruining SlideShare. Bless them. So good for SlideShare for getting bought. Hopefully it'll be good again. With that, let's bring in our guest today. I am thrilled to be joined by Andy MacMillan. He's the CEO of UserTesting. Andy, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
And sitting out in beautiful San Mateo, California. How is the weather right now?
It's like it always is. It's nice. It's a little cool in the morning, but it'll be nice and sunny.
Absolutely one of my favorite little diners is San Mateo. And I haven't flown on a plane since the end of February, and I am still in Jacksonville. I've been eating at an Applebee's now for God knows way too long.
It's that whole Apple Maps timeline they send you now, right? Every month you get that, and now it just shows going like 100 feet back and forth in the house. It's a sad state of affairs.
So depressing. I be honest, I need to get a plane. Again, everybody, you know the drill. For those of you watching, thrilled to see a great international audience. As always, let us know where you're at. As always, tell us where you're at. And you got questions, which I know you all are going to have questions. Toss them in here, because this is going to be fun. Because Andy, when you hear the name UserTesting, as an old developer as I am and product owner, I'm going right to QA testing, right? That's where my mind goes. But UserTesting, the company, is so much cooler. Do you mind describing what it is y'all do?
Certainly. And very broadly, maybe starting from that jumping off point, I'm a developer in my background as well. And I think that's the same thing that came to my mind the first time I heard of user testing, is functional testing, which is, does it work? Does the thing I wrote perform the functions I want it to perform? What we actually do is, does it work for the user? Is it good? Do people like it? And so when you build something these days, interestingly, what's not hard is as much the tech. You can build kind of bad code like I used to write. You put it in Google or Amazon or whatever, and it will scale, and you can deploy your app in the App Store, and Apple will distribute it around the world. The real question is, will anybody use it? Does it connect with people? This is in financial services where so many folks are competing, is that kind of user experience and the engagement. So what user testing does is basically provide an on-demand technology platform to access massive audiences of folks that you can slice and dice, and then actually kind of look over their shoulder, if you will, kind of ride shotgun and watch them use your product. And so if you were to build a new, mobile payments app, you might say, well, I'd like to see what it's like for women who are an economic buyer at home who have 2 kids who make less than $100,000 to try using the app for the first time. And what I want them to do is put some money from their checking account into their balance on my app. So how would you do that? Well, you go on user testing and you set up that little test. You come into our platform. This is the audience I'm looking for, and you go. And what's incredible about the tech is in about 2 hours, you would get back, 10, 15 videos of your target audience spending 10, 15 minutes showing their screen, narrating their thoughts, and telling you what they think of your application. And I think that's really important right now. That's the battle. That experience landscape is what everybody's competing on.
And I'm curious where you got the idea from this, because your background, let's talk about that just a little bit, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Besides going to the second best school in Michigan, Michigan State grad,
Yes.
everybody. We'll get that out of the way. Bless them. Married to a U of M.
Married to a Wolverine.
Yes.
Wolverine.
I'm thrilled about that. But your background's pretty interesting, man. You worked at ADS.
Yeah.
You worked at Oracle. You worked at Salesforce. So, I mean, you've worked at, let's be blunt, some of the best.
Yeah.
In your background. What type of roles did you do at those places?
So I came out of college and went to EDS as a Java developer. So I spent the first couple of years of my career actually building large-scale web applications for General Motors. Maybe the most interesting of which was we built a website for GM of Brazil to sell cars online in the year 2000. So they built this little tiny car called the Celta. And it was a very, very inexpensive car. I mean, I think one of the options was a side view mirror. Like that was an extra that you could buy, was to have a side view mirror. So this was not a high-end vehicle, but we built a website where you could go online and configure and buy that car. And so I was deep in the code. That was kind of where I started. And then I went over to University of Edinburgh, did my MBA. And after that, ended up at a little product company in Minnesota that got acquired by Oracle. And that's really where I got into the product management side of the world, thinking about what to build rather than just, writing the code, which I thought was really interesting. And spent a bunch of time at Oracle, really enjoyed it. Traveled around the world, working with lots of customers, and then kind of saw the cloud trend happening and had an opportunity to go run a line of business at Salesforce. And so had an incredible experience at Salesforce running a business called data.com. And that was really interesting because it was a standalone business inside this massive company. So I was running this little 300-person company where I had my own sales team and my own data centers, but got to work with, really the leaders in cloud and learn from folks like Parker Harris and Mark Benioff and Keith Block. And so that was a, pretty incredible experience. And after that, decided I really liked running something like that. And I went out to go be the CEO of Acton Software in the marketing automation space. Did that for a couple of years, and then found out about UserTesting. So I didn't start the company. I met the founder through a friend. And when he told me about UserTesting, I'm a big believer that all the great ideas seem obvious in retrospect. Like once someone tells you about Facebook, you're like, oh yeah, that seems obvious. I should have created that. Or when you first learn about Amazon, you're like, boy, that really makes sense. Like I should have created that. But no one did until someone did it. Exactly. That's kind of UserTesting. When Daryl Benatar, our founder, told me about it, as a product person, I remember just thinking, this is the most obvious thing in the world. Like, yes, I should get feedback from the actual users on my product before I ship it. And then my next thought was, there must be tons of companies doing this. Like there must be 100 user testing competitors out there. And then you come to find out that, no, it's really user testing. Like we're at scale. We're the only ones with this big panel of people. And it's a really great idea. So I joined the company about 2.5 years ago now as CEO, and have really enjoyed it. So that's kind of my 3 minutes of how did I get from there to here. How I got from Michigan to San Mateo.
Via Edinburgh. Which is nice, by the way. Yeah, good. That's a nice roundabout way to get out to California.
Yeah. Well, I'm going back to Edinburgh all the time now. We opened an office out there, so I love it. I think it's a great city.
So how does so we have had a couple questions about this. How does this work? Do you have I'm assuming then you have a large group of testers or of folks, a user base ready to go that makes sense maybe by product or by use case that you're trying to solve for?
That's right. So we have over 1 million people that have signed up to be what we call a participant. The reason they've signed up is twofold. One, there's a lot of people in the world that just like giving feedback. Think of the kind of folks that
really.
I don't know if you've ever been on social media, but apparently people give lots of feedback. I always say it's the kind of folks that they go to dinner with their spouse and then they go home and they write a 3-page Yelp review like they're a New York Times food critic. They just like doing it. And so a lot of those folks have found our platform. We pay folks $10 every time they take a test. So a test is 10 or 15 minutes long. We pay them for their time. And so, we have this big pool of participants from all walks of life, all different places, all different perspectives. And then when you want to access that panel on our platform, you ask what are called screener questions. So if I was looking for, people that are, I might write questions. I want people to have certain income I might ask, what's your income level? And I'm only looking for people in a certain bracket. I might decide, have you suffered significant loss in your life? So I might look for Wolverine fans and find out how they feel about college football.
God, that's the truth.
You know, but I would ask questions to go through and narrow it down and find out, you know, these are the folks I'm looking for. What's incredible then is the technology goes out and knows how to find in our panel who those people are, quickly ask them those questions, narrow it down to your specific audience. And that's really powerful. We have customers who do things like say, you know, maybe you're a mobile phone provider. You might say, I want to test my offer, but I want to test my offer with people that use a competing phone service. So I'm looking for the economic buyer in the Midwest who uses Verizon because, you know, I'm selling them Sprint or, you know, whatever that is. And you can actually get those folks to participate and give you feedback on your offers.
So a couple of good questions that have come in. I knew Sidhar would ask a good question. You kind of talked about it as you have that user group. You said 1 million, right? That's nice, by the way. That you put together, and I'm assuming that's all over the globe.
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense. And this is a really good question.
So I don't mislead anybody, they do have to speak English to be on our panel today. Okay. They can speak any other language as well, but we interact with them in English. We're actually in the process of globalizing that as well. But all around the world, people located, but they do speak English.
Okay, that makes sense. So the second part of Sidhar's question, you can tell he's a software company founder. Do you have a concern that the results may be skewed due to selection bias, given that you have professional testers instead of real testers? And that's something we always, I mean, we all run into that. We know that.
Yeah. So that's a great question. Something we work really hard on. So we do have a set of algorithms in place to make sure that you're not getting the same testers all the time. And we're very clear when you go to the sign-up flow that you won't make a living user testing. Like this is not, you know, this is not a day job. If you do the math on how many screeners you have to take to get on a test, and then how long it takes to do a test and what you get paid, it's something that is more of a thanks for your time than a way to have people doing this for a living. And we actually have settings in the product, even for our individual customers. We have a thing called Fresh Eyes, where we make sure that you don't see the same tester again for a period of time. I think it's like 6 months. So there's a bunch of things in the product, and the whole mindset of what we do is that we want you to get feedback from real people. Right? We don't want you to get a professional tester. We don't want you to get somebody who, you know, lives and works in UX design, would not be a very good tester. You want an average person, right? Who's going to give you some feedback.
One of the things I was looking at your site this morning, and one of the things I love is you have my favorite word in there that I think, especially coming out of COVID, and you throw digital transformation, everything else in there. It's one of my favorite words. You have empathy in there, the empathy gap. Yeah. So can you, in your own words for user testing, what does that mean?
So this is something I'm really passionate about, having come from the software world. And frankly, my time at Oracle, where I felt like we struggled with this as a company. And in enterprise software, I don't think you would look at most enterprise software applications and say it's an empathetic user interface. What we found, and there's actually a great study that teased this up. Capgemini did this study where they went out and asked people, your company, does it care about customers? Is it its number one value? And 75% of companies, you know, said they care about their customers. It's a big focus. Frankly, I'm blown away that the other 25% didn't. But let's go with like a vast majority of people go to work every day and believe the companies that they work at care about their customers, want them to have a good experience, and listen to them. Capgemini also surveyed consumers, and consumers said about 30% of the brands that they interact with actually care about their customers. And so we looked at that and thought, that's really quite shocking. Like that's an amazing disconnect, you know, kind of a 2.5 times difference on that perspective. And I really do believe that delta is this thing we call the empathy gap, that the people that work at those companies building those experiences, they simply don't realize, they're unable to put themselves in the shoes and have the perspective of the people that are having that bad experience. I do not think most of those folks are going to work every day creating a bad experience and then saying, I really don't care. You know, that doesn't really matter to me. What I think is happening is you've got folks that are, you know, can you still hear me, Sam?
Yeah, you're fine. We're loving how great of a beta product this is by LinkedIn.
No worries. We'll keep going.
I keep telling everybody in the comments, this is right out of what the hell is that movie? The Keep on Swimming. From Dory. So everybody, keep refreshing. It'll keep popping up. But I'm flat out Andy, I couldn't agree more, man. I mean, and I mean this, the need for empathy, especially when you have such a great product like what you have, meaning when you're getting that direct feedback, but in a video format, because I was looking at some of the different use cases that y'all had, examples of it. And I was like, oh my God, I love this thing. Meaning, even a person's probably going to give you a call.
It drives urgency, right? I mean,
it does.
I tell folks, like if you go into a meeting with your engineering team and you show them a chart, and you go, boy, we really need to get this chart from 72 to 78. I mean, okay, if you walk into a meeting with that same engineering team and you show them a video, and maybe you're a financial services company and you're showing them, here's what it's like, someone who's not very tech savvy, to try to use our application. You're sitting in a room full of people with master's degrees in computer science that are building your product. And then you're watching somebody go through this site who's not technical. And they're struggling and they're unhappy and they're miserable. My favorite thing is then when that video ends, you tell the group, all right, we're going to watch another one. And most people will say, I don't need to see another one. Can I go back to my desk and fix that right now? Because that's not the experience that I build. Like, that's not what I do for a living. That's that empathy gap. That's what it means to kind of make that connection. That's when the craftspeople that build your product say, that's not what I build. Like, I don't build that bad experience. And I don't think there's a data product in the world that can do that. I don't think there's any product dashboard, product analytics tool that gives people that sense of, no, that's not the experience I create. Let me go build a better thing. Let me go fix the product so that person has a good experience. And I think that's that empathy gap. That's when I say that's 75%. They do care. They actually care.
So great question from Sunina. She's the head of data acquisitions at M Science, has been on the show before out in New York. She said, how do you decide what you want to test? Are you focused on specific segments, sectors of the market, or is this pretty broad?
So our customers can test really anything that they want. We provide a set of templates in the product. So for example, when COVID hit, we jumped into action. We shipped 44 templates divided up by industry that let people test things that they were now critical. So we had retail stores testing, buy online, pick up curbside. So we actually created a test for how would you test that experience with your customer. But as an enterprise customer, you can build any kind of test flow you want. You can test any web application, any mobile application, and now using the camera phone, you can test any real world experience. So for example, a lot of the digital assistant companies right now have our testers, pointing their camera at the tin can thing on the counter in the kitchen and talking to it, and you're watching and seeing what they're seeing. And you kind of see, like, where did they put, the thing in the kitchen and why did they put it there? So you can really test any real world experience. You can talk to our testers. If you want to do like a needs assessment, you want to interview 15 of them and find out why they do what they do. Anything you can think of, you can test. I think of a test as being kind of 10 to 15 minutes long. And what you're really looking for is that kind of qualitative feedback from an audience.
Ooh, you actually just touched on a great question that we had when you put qualitative in there. So Jarrett Mitchell asked, you may have covered this already, but does UserTesting do any analysis of the data or just hand it over to the clients and they do their own analysis? How do you collect both qualitative data and quantitative data and provide different approaches of collecting that data? You just touched on part of that.
Sure.
But can you kind of walk me through? So I'm going to give you one. So let's say account opening and onboarding for digital banks is everything, right? It's really how they differentiate. So let's say I have developed a new retail app for consumers, and I want to engage with you and see how does this work, right? I want to watch the users try to sign up for an account. What would I get back? What would be the experience feel like working with you?
Yeah, what you actually get back are video screen captures of the participants going through that. And importantly, this is obviously all opt-in. Like the people taking the test, doing the work, know they're being recorded. So this isn't, creepy spyware on the back end of the server or anything. This is people opting in. What the participants are all trained to do is they narrate their thoughts out loud. Good. So we get about 100,000 applications a month to be a tester. We only accept about 10% because we need them to be very high quality at following directions clearly and narrating their thoughts the whole time. So what you would get back is a video of one of these participants. You'd probably get 10 videos back. That's kind of what you'd want to look for. You'd get it back pretty quickly. So again, in like 2 hours or less, you'd get these videos back. And what you would see is their screen and them following the tasks that you laid out, go to this website, open an account, whatever those things are. And they would talk through their experience. They would say, I'm a little confused by this. Okay, now I would go over here. I'm not really sure what I would put in this field. This part seems like I don't know why I'm giving you this information. That's the kind of feedback you would get. To the question from the post online, it is a mix of quant and qual. We do not try to be a quantitative survey provider. Like the survey market's fantastic. We're partners with Qualtrics and SurveyMonkey and all those people. There's great tools for that. What we try to do is give you this rich qualitative feedback that you would watch. We also do put tools in the product to help you consume the content. So we transcribe all the videos. We put sentiment analysis in there. We've got a whole machine learning project underway right now. We have 40 million minutes of user testing video in our platform. And so, learning like what are the things that differentiate a good experience. We're doing that. But I do want to stress, and this is, I think, hard for folks to get comfortable with at first. There's no shortcut. There's no AI algorithm that injects empathy into your head on behalf of your user. And so I always tell folks, I both want to give you the tools to analyze the videos quickly and share those insights. You can create little highlight reels and share them in Slack with other people in your company and stuff, so you can share what you've observed. But nothing really replaces the value of watching what it's like to use your product, right? If a product manager got up every day and I used to say go into work, but now we don't do that anymore. Before they went outside of the garage, wherever they were hiding out and doing their work from home stuff, and they spent 15 minutes while they had a cup of coffee watching a user use their product, and they did that every day for a week, you'd be hard pressed to convince me they wouldn't be a better product manager by the end of the week for investing that 15 minutes every day. In fact, you almost look back and go, it's amazing that you can be a product manager for a product and not spend 15 minutes every day watching people actually use your product. So you do have to kind of invest the time to consume the content. And I think that's important to be upfront about.
I'm gonna slaughter this quote, but Andy, you reminded me, the author Chip Heath, who I really like the Heath authors, a lot of the books I write. But he had a great line. I used it in a keynote once, which was, so many product people are so cursed with the fact that they are so brilliant and their users just don't get it. And I love that. I will find that exact quote and send it to you because it makes me laugh, but it is so true, right? Or like, no. It's just, I was actually highlighted in that series Silicon Valley when they was trying to explain his incredibly brilliant, the founder was trying to explain this incredibly brilliant product, and no one was understanding it, which I still think is hilarious.
There's a group called Pragmatic Marketing that does product management training, and they sell these coffee mugs that say, your opinion, while interesting, is irrelevant. Go talk to the customer.
Exactly. Thank you. Oh my God, that is so true. We find this, we do a ton of jobs done, engagements at 11FS. And, when we're doing the jobs, we kind of follow the same format, right? There's other software out there for that type of software. We actually capture the video interviews, right? And seeing that, I agree with you so much, man. There's that concept of empathy, that concept of kind of putting you in your place. And I mean that politely as a product person. There's so much value in that, right? And cutting to the trace and being honest about it.
And being able to do it quickly. I mean, that's the thing too. I mean, we did one of these when I was at Salesforce. We hired an agency to do it, and it took forever, right? I mean, it was like months and months.
I love this. So you just had Sunaina, again, who's the head of data acquisition at M Science, brilliant, out in New York, just said, I just signed up to be a participant. So Andy.
I love it.
Yeah. By the way, I would approve that one. Because Sunaina
straight in the front of the line.
She is brilliant. No, it's one of the, I agree with you. This is one of those products, and I went out and looked at it, and I'm like, surely this already existed. There's just no way. And especially in a COVID world, I talk about this constantly. COVID is an accelerant, right? It's in a lot of situations, COVID isn't causing the problem in industries. It's just revealing the cracks that were there and saying, all right, it's pouring fuel on the fire. So for a company and a solution like what you have, it just makes sense.
Yeah, for us, it's really changed even who we're talking to in a company.
So,
the product development team, we used to always use us, as you would imagine, for the things we've been talking about. But now, like, I had a call with a customer that's one of the big airlines, and the person who's our customer told me on the call, he said, I have my first meeting with our CEO tomorrow. because we sent them a report we did based on talking to user testing participants about what it will take for them to fly. Like what would make you comfortable getting on an airplane again. Yep. And he basically said, we've realized that you're the best platform for finding customer sentiment right now. And that's changing massively all the time. And so we're just constantly using your platform now to just talk to people about how they're feeling about things. That's really made us almost kind of raise our gaze a little bit about what we can do to help organizations understand their customers. So we're talking more to marketing teams now. We're talking to market research teams and even some, executive teams about, to your point, it's kind of accelerated the need to listen to customers again. And I think it's hard for companies because we don't, digital transformation is amazing as a consumer. Like I don't want to go stand in line at the bank. Like I value mobile banking, but it is kind of weird to think about the fact that nobody at the bank talks to me anymore.
Yeah.
It's weird to think about in 10 years, the people running the bank products will maybe never have talked to customers. They didn't start out as a branch manager and then a regional manager, and now they're at corporate building products. They've been talking to people about banking for 20 years. Like my bank down the street literally drywalled over where the tellers used to be. There's no, I don't think they're still in there, but there's no way to talk to people. That's crazy to think about from the bank's perspective. Like, you're kind of closer to your customers on one hand, but you've been very disintermediated from them in another. And so we're trying to go back and talk to these companies now, realizing like you just need to actually talk to people from time to time. Yeah. It's kind of a bizarre concept on some level.
It is amazing. Yeah. Technology is incredible. And I say this constantly, but people still matter, at the end of the day. They do. And folks, we're out of time. I mean, believe it or not, Andy, I told you it would fly by. And it really does. So where's the best place for folks to learn more? One, if they want to engage with you, but also user testing if they want to sign up.
The website's the best spot for usertesting.com, and you can either be a participant or learn about how you can access participants. For me, Twitter's probably easiest. I'm at AP MacMillan, and I'm also on LinkedIn. So if they want to find me on LinkedIn, that's great too.
Perfect. All right, folks. Tomorrow, Adam Davis will be doing this at 3:30 in the morning my time, so 8:30 a.m. British Standard Time. He'll be talking with Dan Garrett, who's the CEO at Will. Man, I like that name. That's the name for a company. And that's it, everybody. Thanks for being here. Great questions. We will see y'all tomorrow. This will